Let's move to our next story. And this brings us to Cheyenne Mountain. You guys familiar with that place at all? Interesting place, if you ask me. And even more interesting, because this gentleman on your screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, had a crazy UFO encounter there, allegedly. This came in the form of an interview on Reality Check with Ross Coulthart with an intelligence officer by the name of Caison Best. Best is a former U.S. Army Intelligence and Special Forces officer, and he reportedly witnessed a UAP near Cheyenne Mountain Space Force base in 2022, alongside 4 of his colleagues. So what I'm going to do now is we're actually going to hear from Caison Best on Reality Check with Ross Coulthart, and hear his story about what he apparently saw at this Space Force base. This is pretty nuts, if true. So let me pull this up for you guys, and we'll hear from Caison Best.
Did you see?
It's hard to describe. Even now, just a few years later, it was unlike anything that I frankly could have made up. And I'm not the most creative person, but it was a massive, perfectly still elliptical object. And the stillness was just shocking. Like it was almost tied to a fixed point in space. If I were to guess, and this is hard to say, 6 miles away, but I would guess maybe 300 feet at least. Elliptical like this, white in color, comprised of these uniform panels that seem to be all pentagons, but were all irregularly shaped. They were joined at the seams, the linear seams, and these irregularly shaped but uniform in area pentagonal panels were like a mother of pearl or a white ceramic color. And it was a perfect sunny Colorado bluebird day, 50 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. And you could see these panels move as they kind of glisten in the sun.
What did you call the object? What was your nickname for it?
So we didn't have a nickname. Maybe we'll get into it a little bit later, but AARO, their office nickname for this object was the Crystalline Potato.
Crystalline Potato.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It didn't seem like it was made of crystal, but it did have a kind of a reflection to it.
I think you've told me previously it had kind of a mother of pearl look to it.
Yeah, absolutely. All the panels were the same. And again, they were kind of seamed at the linear edges of all of them. It was in a pattern that just did not make sense. Because you could tell that there was 3-dimensionality to it.
Three-dimensionality.
It was a pattern that was hard to comprehend.
The paneling. Forgive me, 3-dimensionality to the paneling? Is that what you mean?
To the skin of the object, to the topography of the exterior of the object itself. You could very much tell that the object was 3-dimensional and elliptical, but then it had topography along it. So kind of peaks and valleys that were comprised of these panels.
So I appreciate the object was 6 miles away over Cheyenne Mountain, one of the most secure military complexes in the world. Can you estimate its length and height?
Yeah, again, this is probably the most uncertain aspect of the observation, but I would say at least 300 feet in length and then maybe 150 feet in height. Very large.
It's a clear blue sky day?
Perfectly bluebird. Anybody who's been out to Colorado, the day after it snows, oftentimes it's just shockingly beautiful. There wasn't a cloud in the sky for 360 degrees.
So how high off the ground at the top of the Cheyenne Peak would it have been hovering?
Yeah, so Cheyenne Mountain itself is comprised of 2 peaks with a saddle in the middle. On the, if you're facing west, on the left peak is an antenna array. And so it's pretty much right over that antenna array, a little bit to the right of it. If I were to guess, again, this is hard to say, but maybe 500 feet above.
So how many men are with you as you're looking up at this object, and how long do you see the object for?
Yeah, so all five of us, myself included, are, we get to the top of the stairs and we're naturally looking at the mountain, and already over that saddle is this object. And having somebody who's been in combat, when you have a truly unique experience, you kind of get that tunnel vision and just the shock factor. And so we were all just transfixed on what we were seeing, trying to perceive it. But enough time elapsed so that we had shared some expletives, confirmed that all five of us saw it. We're able to postulate what we may or may not be seeing. So if I were to guess, at least 30 seconds.
Now, help me here. Please tell me one of you whipped out a phone and started filming.
It's a good question. And, from the nature of going from one skiff to another, we didn't have our phones on us. But frankly, it was such a shocking experience that I didn't even think of bringing out a phone, even if I did have it.
Can I ask you this, Caison? A lot of people tell me when they see objects like this, is there any awareness of the object anywhere else on the base? Or is it only you five that are in the open air able to see this object? Do you have the sense? A lot of people have told me they have the sense sometimes that these objects appear to be showing themselves to them and nobody else, and that sometimes it looks as if nobody else can actually see what they're seeing. Is there any reaction anywhere else in any of the military complexes adjacent to this object?
So the top of the stairs is a parking lot. That's where we were located. We didn't see anybody else in that parking lot, but it was, 30 minutes before lunchtime. So it was pretty quiet naturally. If I were to guess that it was 30 minutes later that we observed this object, it'd be very much crowded. We couldn't see anybody else around us. So it would be just speculation, to be honest. But the one thing that strikes me is that this object was very much already there and stationary before we came into the line of sight for observing.
Crystalline Potato. Now I just want potatoes. Suzanne's making potatoes. Who told me to go nip out a chippy? I had to look up what that meant. I should know that by now. I've been living in Scotland for 3 years. Nip out a chippy is a common Scottish idiom meaning to quickly go to a fish and chips for takeaway. There's actually one like literally a minute from my apartment, and they stay open super late for the drunk people at the bar right next door. I might just have to. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a spud. No, I know we're making a lot of puns and jokes about potatoes. Now, that was the name that AARO gave this, because apparently AARO did an investigation into this, which is interesting. That's interesting that this Army veteran came forward with this story, and actually this got reported to AARO. However, what happened to the case, we'll probably never know. But as for Caison, his involvement with UFOs did not end there. He would go on to submit a formal intelligence report that included corroborating witness statements, yet his superiors treated the matter with indifference. There you go. Typical. According to the accounts, the reporting channels he used were deliberately stifled, leaving the incident unresolved and effectively buried within official systems. This response highlights a broader pattern, often described by service members who attempt to report UAP encounters through formal military or intelligence channels. So, he tried, guys. He tried. I found it interesting too. I should mention that he said he was in between skiffs when they saw this thing. Of course, like what? Who's going skiff to skiff, and then in the middle of going between skiffs, sees a potato in the sky? That's just crazy to me. The way he described the object was so interesting. You're seeing a CGI rendering of it on your screen if you're watching this on YouTube. If this is what that thing looked like, whoa. It is strikingly similar to what our good friend Rob Christofferson saw in central New York when he was younger. In fact, Rob sent me like a artist rendering that he had done of his UFO sighting, and it looked just like this thing, which is crazy, crazy, crazy. Egg shaped. Anyone? Kind of looks like the Socorro, New Mexico object as well. No symbols, no little protrusions for legs, but interesting nonetheless. Was it a balloon, guys? Do you think it was a balloon? I don't know, but it was enough for these Army intelligence officials to think it was freaking weird and report it. So the aftermath of all this would actually inspire Caison Best to begin working with ASA, Americans for Safe Aerospace. In 2023, Best became involved with ASA, a nonprofit founded by former Navy pilot Ryan Graves to provide secure reporting outlets for UAP witnesses. By 2024, Best had taken on a leadership role within ASA, overseeing the reporting program and processing nearly 800 UAP submissions. Wow. He personally interviewed more than 50 credible witnesses, many of whom came from aviation and intelligence backgrounds. His role at ASA positioned him as both an advocate for transparency and a bridge between witnesses and a growing movement that seeks to legitimize UAP reporting outside traditional, often dismissive government frameworks. So there you go, guys. Yet another credible military witness to come forward. Exactly, Robert Chafee says. I don't know. It's yet another witness testimony that adds to the tapestry that is credible witnesses, some of which we are apparently going to be hearing from at the UAP hearing this Tuesday, September 9th, which we're going to get to very soon, guys. I promise. I promise. What do you guys think? What do you think Caison Best saw? This was at Cheyenne Mountain. This was at a military complex, which is now a Space Force base of all things. I think it was still an Air Force base when his event occurred, but yeah, interesting. Interesting nonetheless.